The core to managing your innovation and growth processes is really how you allocate resources across a range of uncertainties. So in this talk, what I'll be explaining is how you build a portfolio of opportunities, beginning with opportunities to support your core business, and then what we call near-field opportunities, or the adjacencies, the new platforms that you might use. And then finally, how do you invest in those strategic options which could provide you, but not necessarily, a window on the future? So an option is a small investment you're making today that buys you the right, but not the obligation, to take on a bigger investment. And one of the things I think that's really important to understand is that starting off by investing in an option doesn't mean you have to carry that investment all the way through to market. Instead, you can think of it like a probe or an experiment. So the way that Nike got into the direct-to-consumer business is a really good illustration of this. The story begins in 1987, when they invented this thing that they thought runners could use to sort of measure their progress, right? And it was a box. You literally strapped it around your waist, and it had these sensors that pointed at the ground and a tube that went up to your ears, and it would tell you kind of how fast you were going and how much pace you had and so forth. And it was a real kludge, but it was better than anything that existed at the time. Unfortunately, it didn't get much uptick, so they dropped it. But the idea of giving runners some kind of information about their activities kind of hung around at Nike for a while. And the magic moment came in 2004, 3 years after the creation of the Apple iPod, which for the very first time meant runners could carry their entire music library with them as they exercised. And Nike then forged a partnership with Apple to create the Nike Plus offering, which allowed you, when you plugged your trusty iPod into your computer, to send messages about how much your activity had been back to sort of headquarters, and it would give you reports and so forth. Well, today, Nike Plus has over 135 million members. It's absolutely core to Nike's strategy, which is really owning the direct-to-consumer channel. So that's an example of how you go from an early, maybe ugly baby kind of option to something which can eventually be central. The last part of this talk is really how do you align your strategy, your budgets, your projects, and your people by allocating resources across those horizons. And what I recommend as a starting place is 70% of what you're doing probably in your core business, 20% maybe to these near-field ventures, and then maybe 10% to your options. So it's a way of exploring the future without breaking the bank.